It is exactly 8:57 a.m. and in the spotlight is the South African Federation of Trade Unions. Quite a serious matter there. We understand that Saftu has suspended four senior office bearers over the Zwelinzima Vavi suspension. So not only is Zwelinzima Vavi suspended, we have four further senior office bearers that have also been suspended. So let's uncover this story with Professor Andre Duvenhage. He is a political analyst. He is with the University of the Northwest. And always a pleasure talking with him regarding these matters. A very good morning to you, Professor. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigel.
Okay, so the four suspensions, as far as Saftu is concerned, regarding their senior office bearers include Saftu's president, that's Mike Shabalala, its second deputy president, national treasurer, and deputy general secretary, including Zwelinzima Vavi. His situation is slightly different, but of course, I'm beginning to wonder how is Saftu operating with their key members all being suspended?
Well, what is clear, maybe I must start with a general perspective that it is difficult circumstances for trade unions. It's difficult economic conditions, high levels of unemployment. So the environment, generally speaking, is not an easy environment. And then we know there's a lot of conflict, and the position of and influence of trade unions is by far not what it was, let's say, during the 80s, during the 90s, and the early 2000s. It's clearly a challenging situation. Now, on top of this, you have personal conflicts, you have personal vendettas playing itself out. And we know that a person like Zwelinzima Vavi is a very influential personal person. But at the same point in time, he's also controversial. Even during his times at the COSATU and other institutions, he was a controversial figure. Now, at the moment, I believe this is very bad news for Saftu. They tried to consolidate themselves within the trade union framework, and now they have these leadership squabbles, these leadership conflicts, and it seems very serious if you take out basically your four top leaders within the organization, and you are doing this with a majority within the National Executive Committee of Saftu. That's clearly an indication of high levels of internal strife and conflict.
Now, when we look at Zwelinzima Vavi, in his case, apparently he's been accused of financial and administrative violations, and he was informed about this by way of a letter issued by the union's president, and this was about a week ago. Where does he stand? How is he going to defend his position? And then we look at the other four office bearers. What have they been accused of that they have been suspended? Let's look at Zwelinzima Vavi first.
Well, I think we have a conflict between two power bases. On the one side, you have certain legal processes that are taking place within the institutional framework. And then you have certain political processes, refer to it political in the sense of politics within the Saftu context. And clearly, Zwelinzima Vavi is in control or in command of the political processes. And my take on it is that the political processes is probably going to be stronger than the legal processes. That is a pattern we are picking up in many institutions, also within the framework of the ANC, if you want to talk about political organizations, etc. So I think that Zwelinzima Vavi is better off when it comes to the political process. But we know he has a history of controversy. there was a lot of incidents linking to him. He left other trade unions under a cloud. So I believe there's probably some substance, some merit in the allegations against him. I do not know how they dealt with it in the formal procedural protocol way, but I think there will be substance. But then again, it will be a political battle, and now it will be up to the power base of the 4 or 5 other people. And if they have strong political power bases, support bases within Saftu, this may develop into a split. But what I am picking up is that there's strong support within the national executive structures for Zwelinzima Vavi. So it probably seems that he may survive this. But this is not good news for Saftu at a time when they are struggling with a number of issues. There's huge competition within the trade union world. It's interesting that an organization like Solidarity is making inroads into the trade union environment. So I think they cannot afford to be fighting each other at this point. They rather need to unite in these difficult circumstances. But unfortunately, this is not happening.
Okay, so we're going to have to watch this pretty closely. What do you feel, your sense about worst case scenario and best case scenario for Zwelinzima's future at Saftu?
Well, I think the best case scenario will be to get some sort of a compromise for himself, to get an arrangement, an agreement with opponents, with rivalries within the structures, and decide on a way forward that can promote the unity and coherence within the institution. I think that is clearly the best case scenario. A worst case is where you get some sort of a split within the institution, and the institution is losing its membership. In most cases, these institutions consist of federations with institutions with a lot of autonomy, and by removing a leader on top is not to remove the leader on top. You are sometimes touching on a constituency lower within the bigger institution, and I think that is the big danger at this point. But I think a compromise, a sort of a negotiated agreement, and agreement on certain process and protocol, that will be the better line. I think the worst line will be an intensification of the conflict, disciplinary processes, and probably a breakaway of some of the groupings within the bigger institution.
So let's look at my final question to you. Let's look at the 4 suspended national office bearers. They've been suspended on the grounds of allegedly bringing the union into disrepute. What are their chances of still retaining their position? And of course, it would go through, I should imagine, the correct disciplinary measures before their fate is decided. But what do you make of that?
Well, to start, to bring an organization in this is a very, very vague statement. And it's basically opening up a range of possible things you can use against an individual. It seems to me a lot political in a way. And it leaves that individuals in many ways defenseless, because anything you could have said or done can bring the organization into some sort of disarray. And that is difficult to defend yourself in that context. In that sense, it is problematic. On the other side, from a legal perspective, it is difficult to motivate such a position, because you need to have clear evidence as how that individual or individuals did indeed bring the organization into disrepute. So that, in that sense, it's going to be difficult to motivate in a legal way. And then we must also take into consideration, when not working within the institution, it is the option of these individuals to go for the open legal system, the independent legal system, and get an answer in this regard. And I believe this is highly likely the process that we are going to see in future.
Okay, and that's where we will leave it. Professor Andre Duvenhage, political analyst at Northwest University. Thank you for your time and insights on this matter. Till the next time, have a great day.
Thank you very much.
8 after 9, news and views right here on Salam Media. When we get back, we will be talking with the DA Gauteng spokesperson for infrastructure and development, and that is Nico de Jager. Do stay with us. Lots more coming your way on News and Views this morning on Salam Media.